Hello and welcome to another episode of Daddy Issues. I'm one of your hosts, Craig Jakes.
And I'm Don Tretler, the Fatherhood Services Coordinator with Early Education Services. And today we have a guest. This is our guest, Trayvon Dunbar.
Don already knew Trayvon from prior, meetings, but I met him after an episode of this show, actually. We were talking about race and racism and how to handle that when it comes up with our children, and Trayvon enjoyed our talk and felt he wanted to come in and let us know some of his thoughts, and we invited him to come on the show at some point for another topic, and here he is.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to ask Trayvon. Actually, he was outside during that episode when Craig and I were talking about bringing our kids up with regard to, I'm trying to think, I was going to say racism, but I mean, it's more about just how are we raising our kids with regard to
Differences of any kind.
Differences in culture and, sexuality, things like that. We didn't even talk about that, did we? We didn't talk about how we feel about, talking about, homosexuality or heterosexuality in front of our children, stuff like that.
No, at some point we definitely have to do a whole episode on that, though. It's going to be one of those touchy ones, little, parental guidance ahead of the show, just to, it's like,
warning.
They may talk about something you don't want your kids to hear, like.
Warning, this could be scary. So Trayvon, how did you feel like we handled that?
Well, I mean, I just believe that you guys talked about it exactly how you should have. You were polite to everyone else. You didn't take sides too extremely. I just wanted to say that, it's not just the white community or anything that, it does racism. That's what everybody is always saying, it's the white people who do, say racist things, but blacks, every race is racist against other races.
Or at least prejudges, which is where prejudice comes from.
Yeah.
Right. I just think, our whole thing was, and we couldn't have opposing views about it because we feel exactly the same about it, is that you bring up our kids to accept people as people, whoever they are. And not, I would never say to my son, oh, you can't hang around with so-and-so because he's a whatever, Yeah. It just doesn't make sense to me, And I think my son, the kind of person he is, he likes people for whoever they are, If they're cool, he likes them.
And my 13-year-old, the person he is, if he doesn't like you, it's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with race, religion, sexual orientation. If you're someone that he can't stand, it's on you, buddy.
That's actually something I love about my daughter, especially in the age that she's at right now, at, a year and 3 months. She has no boundaries. There is no one that she sees and says, oh no. She goes up to everyone and is like, hi, and everyone else smiles back at her. So I don't see, no one gives her a dirty look because she has dark skin, and she doesn't give anybody else. She's a baby. She doesn't understand, oh, you're different than me, other than I see who you are, and I think that's how everyone should look at people. From a baby's point of view, is that you're just another person. You're not, just because you come from a different culture, you have different colored skin, it doesn't make you so fundamentally different than me. So why should I treat you so much worse?
Well, the only difference between you and us is age and melatonin.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's,
exactly.
I mean, if you want to boil it down, and what's melatonin? Like, who cares? Like, skin color, like, the best, and I think I mentioned this on that episode, the best comment I ever heard was when I had to explain to my oldest when he was in kindergarten why he had Martin Luther King Day off. And I'm like, well, how do I explain Martin Luther King to a 5-year-old?
Yeah.
So I just boiled it down to the very basics. And I said, honestly, some people don't like other people because the different colored skin. And he wanted to make it so people would get along and base it on the kind of person they were. And he goes, people don't like people because of their skin? I said, yep. He goes, well, that's just dumb.
Yeah.
There you go.
It is.
End of subject.
Now, Trayvon, you're a father. How old is your child?
She's a year and 3 months.
Oh, and what's her name?
Nyx.
Nyx.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And now, how have you found this first year? What are some of the memories that you've got throughout this first year?
This first year has been, I don't know, it will be a memory that I will keep with me forever. It's been the best, watching her grow up and learn and just love. It is just amazing to watch her walk, crawl, speak. She's just doing amazing things, and she's such a beautiful soul, like, because she's kind to everyone, always. She always has, a smile whenever she goes up to anybody. And I don't know, it's been amazing to just know that such beauty, like, I helped that come into, existence.
Let's be honest, you didn't do most of the work.
No, I didn't. I helped, though.
Were you there for the birth, as far as like in the room helping?
Yes.
I did that, and as someone who did it more recently than me, maybe you have a take on this, but a lot of people told me I had to be there, which I had no problem with, but it was such a beautiful thing, such a beautiful thing. I don't know about you, but that wasn't beautiful to me.
No, it was.
It was awe-inspiring. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade that away for the world. But beauty? No, that looked like a wet St. Bernard coming in through the cat door. That is not pretty.
It was pretty crazy watching it happen. I mean, in a sense that the act itself is beautiful, but watching it happen is not so much. No.
Yeah, I mean,
it gets a little dirty, a little slimy and bloody.
I mean, I cut the cord. I was there for my second child also, the whole 9 yards. But like I said, beauty to me isn't the right word. Amazing.
Yeah.
That covers it. Awesome. Awe-inspiring. Beautiful. No, that's kind of gross.
Yeah.
I just felt like there was a lot of tension. Like it was very, very intense. And I think by the time, the child was born, I was kind of happy, like relieved, like, all right, everything went well, and but I don't remember that feeling of like, oh,
people do overplay what happens during that time. Oh, it's an amazing joy. I love my daughter completely. When the second I saw her, I was, full of happiness. But it's more of a real thing. People like to, put pretty lights around it. It's not pretty. So, but that's just a fact. It is a beautiful, raw thing, when it comes to the act itself.
Right. So now, when your baby was smaller, did you do a lot of the child care? Did you do a lot of the feeding, changing? How involved were you in the actual care?
I was completely involved. It was a 50-50 kind of thing. I couldn't breastfeed, so it was probably, a little less than that. But other than that, I'd still feed her, with bottles, and, my girlfriend would pump, and I'd change her diaper. I would rock her to sleep, everything. I was there for every second of it.
I was going to ask about the diapers, because the first week or so, there's no smell. And it's like, oh man, I got this. This ain't nothing. 2 weeks later, it's like, honey, you want this one?
I don't know. I see it as in, I know I don't like doing it, but the other fact is my daughter's sitting there in her own feces, and that should be cleaned up as fast as possible.
Absolutely.
So I don't really care about it as much. Sometimes, in the beginning, it was the nights were hard. They were. So those were about the only times that I would, be like, oh, no, I can't do it, and then she'd be like, no, I can't do it, and then I'd have to, do it. So that was hard, but after about the first 3 months, it became, pretty normal.
What was her first word?
Mama.
Usually is, damn it.
She was 3 months the first time she
Wow.
ever said mama. She was crying, and she was like, mama. And we have it on video. It was pretty intense.
Here's a messed up one for me. Now, it wasn't his first word, but the first day my firstborn said Dada was September 11th, 2001. So I get woke up because my mom's pounding on the door. We're under attack. I work nights, so I was like, what are you talking about? Is there someone at the door with a gun? Like, what do you mean under attack? Like,
Yeah.
Because prior to that day, you don't picture that as a thing that exists.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm listening to the news and stuff, and then all of a sudden he looks up at me when I'm feeding him, and he goes, Dada, you want to talk about a dichotomy of emotions. It's like planes flew into buildings, death, destruction. Kid says Dada for the first time. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
It was pretty intense. Emotional roller coaster that day.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So how did you choose your child's name?
It's a Greek goddess. Nyx is the goddess of night, and we actually spelled it with a K. It's K-N-Y-X, and that's how we came about it. We were looking through, you know, names and Greek names like god, you know, goddesses and stuff like that, and we just liked it. You know, we thought it sounded nice.
See, I just assumed he was
meaning.
a sports fan, you know, New York sports, you know, but
A lot of people, they actually say Stevie Nicks. That's where they start off at, and then it goes to the New
only
York
if she
Knicks.
sounds like a goat when she cries. Stevie Nicks. It's like, wow, really?
Wow. We're going to end up with a lot of hate letters from that one right there.
Hey, I'm telling you, if she was auditioning for American Idol today, they'd be like, you're a bit pitchy and get out. Like, she wouldn't even, America would not vote for Stevie Nicks' voice.
Well, all right. Are there any memories that kind of come to mind during this past year? Any kind of things, maybe things that you would do differently now that you've been through the first year that you
There actually isn't anything I would do differently. Everything that I've done, it was
By the book?
Yeah, it was well, not
I
necessarily
wish there
by
was
the
a
book,
book.
but for who she is, it worked perfectly, you know. And so I don't know, I'm kind of proud of myself for how I've dealt with this, the whole, you know, rearing my child.
right? And you
'Cause,
should be. She's lived through the first year, so you know that's always my measure. You know, did my child live through this past year? But little by little, as they get older and older, they take more care of themselves. So the responsibility for staying alive has
Now,
to do with themselves.
Not so much changing anything, because you just answered that, but is there anything you wish you had known ahead of time, someone gave you a heads up on, you know, this is something that might come up, that you wish you had some sort of info on before it happened?
Not really, because a lot of like all the things that I've had problems with when it comes to, you know, my daughter were things that I did know about beforehand, just because I've been in so many like babies' lives, like all of my family and everything, you know, all the things that would have become problems, I did know beforehand. There's nothing really really like out there that was different that what I had a problem with, because most of the things that I have to deal with today are, you know, her personality, and that's about it. She has a really wild personality. She is one crazy little girl.
It's amazing how fast they get one too, like
Yeah.
their own. It doesn't take
she
long
started
before
out with
they're
it.
their own person. Exactly.
She really did. She started out, everyone would tell us constantly, oh, her eyes are so bright. She's so focused, you know. She would do things that were completely her, you know. She would just show you, you know, I'm here. And I was always surprised because she was always a strong. The second she came out, she'd grab you and just, you're like, whoa, how are you even this strong? You're a baby. And she was just, I don't know, she progressed really fast. And that might be the only thing that I would have, you know, somewhat of a regret for, is that she did get so old so fast, in the sense of growing up, because she's only a year, but she knows so much already that it kind of makes me sad that it's gone by so quickly.
Well, that's something, as a father of a 13-year-old, I look back and I'm like, how are you 13? Like, that's not going to get any easier as she gets older. I'm just going to pre-warn you, because you're going to look back and go, what happened to that little thing the doctor handed me?
I
What do you mean you have to shave a mustache off, kid? Like, obviously not for your daughter, but I'm saying.
I hope not. I hope she doesn't grow a mustache.
Or if so, it's like, pluck.
Unless she wants to.
Well, what was, a lot of times we learn how to be fathers from our dads. What was your father like?
He was more of a deadbeat. Yeah, that was my dad. He wasn't there much when it came
So you
to
didn't
things.
have much of a relationship with him?
No. My mom taught me to be a dad. That happens a lot, but it did happen, and so I owe that to her. My dad didn't do much when it came to teaching me how. He taught me the wrong things. So if I have any problems that are pushed into my psyche that come out when I'm raising my child, it's all from, those were personality traits that he gave me. He was only there for the bad parts. That's I don't have good memories with that really. So
right.
Well, it gives you the goal of anything but being like him, right?
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that made me want to be the father that I am, is someone who will always be involved in their children's lives, because he wasn't so. And I will never be like that. I will never treat my child the way I was treated. I will never make my child feel the, just sort of a depression. Whenever I think about my dad, it's sort of just a depressing, thought. I don't want my child to think about me and have bad feelings. I want my child to think about me and always feel happy. I want to be a safe place, a happy place for my children.
Absolutely.
Do you have any like dads in the media, like dads from, I always think of like television shows and stuff. Do you like models that kind of stick out to you?
I do not know.
It's funny I ask this because you're kind of a different generation. When I think about some of the TV dads when I was growing up, they had a few examples that were on. There aren't a lot. I kind of Googled this on the internet, and you Google like TV dads or something like that, and they really can only come up with, throughout the course of 50 years, 60 years of television, they can only come up with about 20 of them. People like Ward Cleaver and
and even he was, come home after work, sit down, have a drink, and it's like mom did most of the parenting unless they were in trouble. That's like
right. Then they had to come into his office and they had to sit down.
Ward, you need
sit
to
down,
talk.
boys.
Yeah.
The nuclear family.
One of the guys one of the dads that I work with in Brattleboro had said, what was his name? I want to say it was James Ingalls from Little House on the Prairie. Was it James? I can't remember what his name was, but he said, "Oh, that was my model for being a dad."
So he made his kids split wood and
they
go
lived
in
in
an
a
outhouse.
One of the good dads is the dad from Full House. I believe he was always there.
And he was doing it as a single dad too.
As a single dad,
he had his brother-in-law and one of his friends from college living with him, helping out, but no mom.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one of the few times that they show it where the dad's not only not inept, because that's what we were talking about that on a previous episode too, is they show so many dads in movies, commercials, TV shows where they're blithering idiots. The example I give is, the dad pouring waffle mix into a toaster thinking he's making breakfast. And it's like, come on, nobody does that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So cut it out, stop it, get rid of those negative stereotypes for dads. I mean, Trayvon was just saying it himself, that he feels perfectly competent as a father.
And that's actually one of the biggest things is the the media. Everybody tells you you should be this certain way. So these boys, they continuously grow up being told you're going to be a deadbeat dad. You're going to be a crappy father. You're not going to be in your daughter's relationships. Your daughter's gonna hate you when she gets older. Your son's gonna hate you when they get older. If you were to be honest and involved in your children's lives, then your child's not going to hate you. That's just the simple point.
Exactly.
See, I was lucky. I mean, my dad and mom got a divorce when I was 1, but like I had mentioned to him before, I always felt like all it would have took is a phone call and he was there. I mean, he was always there for me for anything I needed. So when it comes to that, I was really lucky. And I base a lot of my parenting on the way he raised me, because he raised 3 boys that not one of us has ever been arrested, let alone, any, like he kept us, on the straight and narrow as far as behavior wise. I mean, yeah, we did stupid things that all kids do, but, he was there. And, that's kind of what this show was started about, is like, well, there are dads, even like in both of our cases, with a divorce under our belts and not with the mother of our children, that still want to be there for the kid no matter what.
Yeah.
I have tattoos. It's something that I turned out to be addicted to. My very last tattoo that I had gotten, I got my kids' names here. Now, the funny thing is, I never even thought about putting their mom on me, even when I planned on being with her. But my thought was, no matter what, as far as I'm concerned, in my heart, my kids are always with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I definitely plan on doing that.
Yeah.
Getting things to symbolize
Absolutely.
each and every one of my children, to make sure, because it's a reminder to not just yourself, but to the people who see you, so, well, what is that tattoo right there? Well, these are my wonderful kids,
Absolutely. And no matter what, it's like, it sounds like you have every intention on being with your daughter's mom, but I had that intention too. You never know what's going to happen in the future. You just plan for the best and hope for the best, but no matter what, your kids are always your kids.
Yeah.
And there are dads out there that feel that way, and this show, I mean, that was the pre-conversations before I even pitched it to Fact TV was, hey, like, there are dads that are there for their kids. Let's represent them.
Yeah.
And there are some that might be on the brink of, well, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do, maybe I should back off a little bit because she's got a new boyfriend. Or no, be there for your kids.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, your kids are priority number 1, period.
Yeah. And it sounds like you have some idea that you might want more children.
Yeah, I'm going to have another child in July.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. So then they're going to be pretty close together, because
Yeah.
you said your daughter is going to be, what, 15 months?
Yeah, she'll be a year and a half by the time my next daughter is born.
Wow. So that's nice.
Oh, you
They
already
can
know
grow
what
up
it's going to be
together.
then.
Yeah.
Cool. I've never understood the parents that are like, oh, I don't want to know. Like, I kind of do, because you have to pre-buy some clothes.
And I know a lot of people, they'd hear that, they'd hear, oh, your children are only a year and a half apart. You're only 20 years old. That's a little irresponsible for you to do that. But I fully want my children to be as close as possible in age, because I grew up that way. Me and my brothers are 2 years apart. Each and every one of us were 2 years apart, and it goes down like that. And I've had a really close relationship with my siblings, so I want that with my children. I want them to have that sense of family, because I've met family after family who's oh, I don't even talk to my brother. I don't even see my sister. I haven't seen my sister in 10 years, and I would never be like that. I would always want to see my family. I would always want to know how they were. How's your life going? Because we grew up together. We've had an entire lifetime of memories. I don't want my child to not have that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, family's very important, and I think sometimes people get caught up in the drama, and having fights with people or not talking to people, and that kind of like gives them this rush or whatever of emotion. But I think a lot of times,
But kids pick up on that too. Like,
Sure.
say you and your brother had a major blowout or something. Your kid's gonna, even if you don't say it in front of them, will pick up on the vibe that's there, no matter what. And you don't want to poison your kid that way either, you know?
right? A lot of times the relationships that we have with our siblings, those are practice for the relationships that we're going to have later in life, that we're going to have with our significant others, that we're going to have with our children, things like that. So if you set a good tone and you make the determination to say, like as a sibling, as a brother or whatever, to say like, I'm never going to let this person get distant from me, that I'm going to keep this person close in my, in my circle. That's kind of how that dedication that you would have to your partner, to your wife, to your children, that you would never let your children get too distant from you.
Yeah. Mm.
Now, I tend to like to make jokes about a lot of stuff, and I do that in my raising of my kids. What's the funniest thing that happened in the 15 months that you've been raising your daughter? There's got to be something that was just like, you think back and it's like, that was funny.
I don't know. I can't really think of something right now.
No?
Because the whole thing is that every day, every single day, I've been told by person after person, oh, just wait till they get to this age. You'll stop loving it, and every day I continue to say, I don't see what they're telling me. I do not. My daughter, I was like, I can't wait till she can walk, and everybody's like, oh, you'll wait, you can wait. And I love chasing my daughter around. I will chase my daughter around every day if I have to, if that's what she wants. If she wants to go running down the street, well, guess what? I'm running with her. I'm not gonna regret anything that she does. And so everything that she does, really, she does a lot of things every day that are just hilarious. She is just because they're so cute, just because everything she does is so innocent and just like, so full of love that it's hard to choose a specific time as the funniest.
I can think of one for my firstborn. I was, he was, probably 3 months old, and I had just finished giving him a bottle because his mom wasn't there or whatever, and she was doing the breastfeeding, but we're supplementing with bottles when she wasn't there. And I'm holding him up over my head, doing that, just wee. And my mouth was open when he puked. She got home, and I said, you know how you complain about when you change him and he whizzes on you? Until he pukes in your mouth, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, that actually did happen exactly to me. I was holding her up, oh yeah, and then she just, and all of it went directly into my mouth.
Oh.
And formula, you just have to imagine, doesn't taste good the first time.
Yeah.
Regurgitated, it ain't gonna, it's not like wine, it doesn't get better with age.
No, holy Moses. Oh, I hope you people are not eating dinner while you're watching this. Or eating breakfast, eating your oatmeal. That would not be cool. So, wow. So, what are your hopes for your child? Like, as you're looking into the future and you're going to have another child, what kind of hopes do you have for your children? What do you...
Well, all I really, a lot of parents, they want their child to be, successful, to, go to college, get good grades, all those things, and I'd be perfectly happy if my child did that. But I want my child to be happy with who they are, because that is the main problem with our entire society, is that everyone is unhappy with who they are. And so then they take that out on other people around them. And I don't want that. I don't want my child to grow up hating her life for any reason she finds, like that there's a problem that there's things wrong with her because other people told her there's something wrong with you, then she hates herself over someone's opinion. You know, so I just want my children to love themselves. That is the main thing. I want them to love who they are and love people.
See, this is one of those things where we said, you know, we don't have to necessarily have this, you know, agree on it, because I agree that, you know, I like the idea of my kids having self-esteem and, you know, feeling good about themselves as people. But I've also mentioned before, like, this country has some of the highest self-esteem in the world and some of the lowest grades when it comes to math and things, and other countries are whooping us when it comes to innovations and, you know, coming up with new ideas for the world. And I think that, you know, I have an issue with, well, for example, this one that we've mentioned before, the trophies that everyone gets for being there. And it's like, well, that never meant anything to me growing up. You know what I mean? The ones that I earned meant something. And to me, it's like self-esteem is a good thing if it's based on something real. And, you know, it doesn't have to be academic. It doesn't have to be athletic. But I want them to feel good about themselves because of something that they did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
like,
that's actually what I'm saying is that
Okay.
is that if she is happy with who she is, all of the work that she does will show that. You know, all of the, if she's happy with, you know, if she was, you know, a math whiz and she was happy with how she did, you know, how she thought about things. You know, someone else tells you that's not how you do math. But if she does it her own way and then she does it better, you know, she's the new add-on, and she's the one to teach everyone, hey, this is the new way. She's gonna feel like she can tell people that, like she can let out that idea, and so she'll feel, you know, confident enough to be creative, to come up with those innovations, you know, to show people, hey, this is a easier, more efficient way.
yeah, I guess my issue was more along the lines that sounds perfectly legitimate to me, but where it gets to be an issue is when it tilts from self-esteem to self-entitlement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I definitely don't want my kids to feel like they're owed anything from the world. Because if there's anything I learned from the world, it doesn't owe me nothing.
Yeah.
It's like if you don't go out and get it, it ain't coming.
Yeah, and see, I don't want my child to grow up with a sense of entitlement, so I'm not gonna, you know, a lot of parents enable their children, and that's where the sense of entitlement comes from. I don't enable my daughter now, so I don't plan on enabling her when she gets older.
All right, well then I don't disagree with you.
Because when she does things now, you know, a lot of parents, like when their child falls, they run up the second they fall. Oh, you're okay. Oh, sweetie. I tell her, brush it off. She gets up. You know, she starts to cry. I say, brush it off. She gets up, brushes it off, and walks away. You know, you didn't have to go through all it. All it does is teaches them is that, you know, I need someone to comfort me. I need someone to give me something right now. You need to help me. And no, you can help yourself perfectly fine.
See, that reminds me of something my stepson just had happen just this past week. He was borrowing a neighbor's bicycle, and it was too big for his height. It's not a little kid's bike, you know? And his mom said, get off it, you're gonna hurt yourself. He didn't listen. She wanted to not let go of the apron strings kind of thing and wanted to run over and, no, you can't do that, and protect him. I said, no, you warned him. Let him fall. He's gonna fall. Let him get up. Just stay over here. Override that sense of I gotta go comfort him. He'll be all right.
Yeah.
Then he decides to take it off a little ramp, and he took a spill, and he hurt himself, and he limped over, and he had tears in his eyes, and I was like, look, she told you that was gonna happen. You didn't listen. Now you know that she didn't make that up. And she thought I was being a little harsh. I was like, no. Like, wipe away the tears, throw a Band-Aid on the cut or the scrape, whatever. Then send him back out. Now he's learned a lesson. Like, you gotta let them learn on their own. And sometimes a bump or a bruise is gonna be part of that.
One of the big things, like with when it comes to crying, you know, a lot of things tell you, especially to boys, you know, don't cry. Crying is bad. What I think is that crying it's a release for our bodies. It's an actual biological release, and it is something that is needed within us. But you shouldn't be. A lot of kids are taught to cry for certain reasons, and I don't think that's the whole thing. Is if you're taught, you don't have to cry right now, then you'll understand when it is time to cry. If you lose someone you love, that's time to cry. That's
Absolutely.
time to release all of that pent-up emotion. But when you fall down, scrape your knee, and it only slightly hurts, you don't have to cry then. There's no point. You get up, like you said, put a bandage on it, and go back to playing.
I know my son Joey, when he was probably 7, came to me and said that he was told by his mom's boyfriend, "You're not allowed to cry in this house. You need to knock that off." And someone had recently passed away, and he was really taking it hard. He took it extra hard because 6 months earlier someone had passed away, and he didn't really grasp the concept yet. And I think that the second one, he finally actually understood what death was, and I think it brought up memories of the other person, so it was like twofold, dealing with it so close together. And my response to him, maybe it's, machismo or whatever, but I looked at it and I was like, well, maybe I should go over there and make him cry. Because you're not going to tell my son he can't cry when there's been a death. I don't play that game. I'll go over and we'll have a talk about this. And I mean, I've told him, I cry like a little wuss. Anytime those, injured dogs come on that commercial, Sam McLaughlin's singing Angel and stuff, it's like, turn the channel, I can't watch this. I can't do it. Every time. And I know what's going to happen. Yeah. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to cry. That's what's going to happen every time. So why would someone have a cat and then do that to it, man? Why has it got no eyeball?
Yeah.
So my kids, and they'll tell you, it's like, hey, when it comes down to it, my dad's a real manly guy. He's a man's man. Football, beard, men's stuff.
Is that what it means to be a man?
Fighting.
So if I don't like football and I don't drink beer, would that make me an unman?
Listen, I already don't think you're a man. Don't add you don't like football into the mix. And I thought you already liked football, so
I'm just
okay.
It's a hypothetical.
Well, hypothetically, yeah, I would think you were a wuss.
What does it mean to be a man? So you have to drink beer and football and and cry.
Better question is, what does it take to be a dad? See, it sounds to me like your biological father was more of a donor than a dad. To me, father, anyone can be that. Dad, you have to work at, and it's a lifetime commitment that you love to do. It's the only job that you don't get paid for in anything other than love, and it's the best job you've ever had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, from the descriptions you've had of your daughter, you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like your dad may have fathered you, but you're a dad.
Yeah, I fully believe my father is a sociopath, so it's kind of, it was stacked against me a little bit, taken as, I got a sociopath for a father.
But you're not letting that be an excuse for you to follow in the same footsteps. And, ending that cycle has got to be the best thing for your little girl.
Yeah.
I
did actually end a cycle because my dad's dad was a father of 22 kids. And was not in the life of any of them.
Wow. Yeah.
So what did he do on his spare time? Part-time work at McDonald's or something? Because you're pretty busy if you're having 22 kids.
He was still 72. He died recently, I think 6 months ago. And he was still 72 years old, out there, getting the ladies.
Did you ever meet him?
I met him when I was a baby, but other than that, no. No, I did not.
Doesn't sound like you were impressed with his legacy.
No.
Now, see, you said you want to have more kids, and you're having a second kid right now, but it doesn't sound like 22 is the number you're aiming for.
See, the whole point of that is that, you can't have 22 kids with one woman. And unless...
what about that 19 and Counting show?
That's after,
That's actually crazy is what that is.
That's what I'm saying is that, he had multiple women, he has kids the same age, is what I'm saying. So you can't have, 22 kids, most of them are the same age.
And you definitely can't be there for your kids the way
No.
a kid needs their dad to be there. We've discussed also, there's an importance, there's different jobs for men and women, and I'm not trying to sound sexist, it's just mothers are better at certain things, fathers are better at certain things. It's just biologically the way it is. And some people are like, oh no, everything's equal. Well, women tend to be more nurturing automatically. Now, it sounds like your mother stepped up and had to be a dad too, which, like I said, I've said this before, Chris Rock has, put it perfectly. It can be done, doesn't mean it's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't easy on her.
No.
Especially, I'm a guy, I know what I put my mom through.
Yeah.
And she was a single mom, in between having kids. Like, I have 2 sisters, we all have different fathers, and in between it was one woman raising us all, and I can't even understand how she put up with the stuff she put up with for me.
Yeah.
I can't understand either.
To me, that's proof
That
of God.
woman-
God knew the
I've never
parents
met
to
her.
give me to,
I think he's
because
making
anyone
this
else would
woman
have
up.
killed me.
I don't think this woman even exists. I think he's making her up.
I was hatched from an egg. No,
This woman is a saint.
just shy of it. I mean, if I saw her walk on water, I'd be surprised, but that's about the only thing.
I believe that any parent who has that, the love and the will to raise their children by themselves should always be praised, continuously. It's no matter what your situation, if you are there for your children, if you're there loving your children, you should always be like you are a saint.
But isn't it strange if someone tries to, like, he tried to give me a compliment last week, talking about, oh, I've seen him out doing all these things with his kids and his stepkids. And I felt weird about being patted on the back for something that, to me, it wouldn't make sense not to do those things.
See, that is...
I have no problem, like, saying, like, sounds like you're a good father, you're there. But if it was said back to me, I always feel like, yeah, but I'm just supposed to.
Yeah, but that's what I'm like, if you're the parent, you're not supposed to be like, yeah, I'm the best parent. Like earlier I had said that, I'm proud of the parent that I am. And that means that I'm happy with how my daughter has,
Progressed?
Adjusted to who I am.
Oh, okay.
And so, because I'm a very difficult person. But I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, I'm the best dad there is. You shouldn't say that, because you should accept praise from other people, especially, if someone's telling you you're doing, a good job. You should accept it because someone is trying to compliment you. But you shouldn't yourself,
Pat yourself on the back?
Yeah, you shouldn't pat yourself on the back for being there. You can pat yourself on the back for handling a situation a certain way, but for being there, being the parent you're supposed to be, no, you shouldn't give yourself a high five,
And we shouldn't give it to each other. Was that kind of your point? I actually was reading
no,
this. I read a dad
I
that
don't
said
mind that you had it to say, but it just felt weird to me to accept the compliment just because it's like, somewhere in my brain, it's like, yeah, but I'm just supposed to do that.
Right.
So, and it never crossed my mind not to do that. So it feels weird that you're bringing it up like I did anything special when it's just what I'm supposed to
Right.
do.
I feel that way all the time. People will tell me, oh,
but I'm
you
quick to
did
say,
that.
hey, you're doing a good job with that to someone else.
Yeah.
It was on a list of things that you're not supposed. This guy put like 5 things you should not say to dads. And one of them was, oh, you're such a great dad, because his attitude was the same as what you guys are saying, is that this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm not doing anything beyond what I'm supposed to do. This is what I do, The other things were things like, oh, you must be babysitting today. If you're out with your child, somebody's saying that to you, like, wait a minute, that's my child.
Yeah.
This is what I do. I'm not babysitting.
I've had that a lot. A lot of people, they assume that, I'm doing something extra because I'm just there. Like if they see me with my daughter by myself, it's like they'll give me a pat on the back. Good going, Dad. You're out here by yourself taking care. And I mean, I'm supposed to be taking care of my daughter.
It's like, I'm an adult. What are you saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, of course I can handle this.
Exactly.
It's been done for many generations. I think I got this.
Yeah. That's exactly. They're more of a condescending. They have, more of a condescending tone when it comes to, I don't
It's
know
a
about you. Yeah.
They're acting like it's a compliment, but it's really a, backhanded compliment, insult, it's a complisult.
Right. Now, before your child was born, and I'm sure you heard this, people came up to you and they said, you're going to feel a love for that child like you never felt before. Would you say that?
I didn't actually have anybody tell me that, but if they had, I would have agreed with them then, because I was scared. I was 18 years old, so I was like, wow, this is gonna be a lot. I was feeling a little, flustered, but then I realized, like, just a little bit before she was born, a month or two before she was born, I realized it's gonna be okay. I can do this. I will be a dad, and that's all. That's what matters, is that I will be there. I will be there, loving my child every step of the way.
And as soon as my kids were handed to me, like especially with the first one, because I didn't know what was going to happen, I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's what they mean. I would die to protect this. Like, I wouldn't die for much, but I would give my life to make sure this dude was safe. And having actually stood up to a bear and I just told him the story earlier at a meeting we were having. A bear came into the parking lot of where I was living at the time, and it was running towards my fiance at the time, ex-wife now, holding my oldest when he was like 1 and he had a diaper on and everything. And I saw that, and I got up and just ran to try to get between them. And I yelled to her so that she'd go inside. It kind of stood up, she screamed, it looked at me, I cocked my arm back, and it ran off into the woods. To which she goes, those guys that say that they would stand in front of a bullet for their kid? You were going to punch a bear in the face.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's the same thing as a bullet. I mean, except for the fact that the bullet you might survive, probably not going to survive the whole ripped apart thing.
Yeah.
But it didn't even cross my mind not to. It's like, well, they'll be inside where it's safe as I'm being eaten.
Yep, I fully understand that.
Because it never crossed my mind that I was going to whoop a bear either.
Yeah.
I knew better than that.
Every day I see my daughter, or sometimes I will get so overwhelmed with that very feeling, like that I love you so much. You are just so amazing. I will do anything for you. Like every day, I always get that feeling, and I have to hug her and squeeze her, and I don't think that'll, even when she gets older, she'll be in her teens, I'll be hugging her, squeezing her. She'll be like, "Stop, Dad," and I'll be like, "But I love you so much."
You never know. My 13-year-old, I dropped him off his first day of 7th grade, walked into the school with him just to take a look at the school. It was the middle school that I had went to and everything. And I looked around, and he gives me a big hug and a kiss on the cheek. And I was like, "You're not embarrassed about that?" He's 13, he's a boy. He goes, "I don't care what these people think. You're my dad."
Yeah.
So you never know.
Well, I wasn't meaning by.
No, I know.
I was
but
like,
a lot of kids do kind of push back.
I was just meaning in the sense that the over love, the over squeezing, the joking around, when you bear hug your family, that kind of thing. Like, "Oh, I just love you so much. I just want to squeeze you till
And it may go the opposite way. I know that my mom was just commenting to me that my niece was kind of hanging on my brother. She's a teenager and stuff, and that she hugs him and hangs on him. And my mother said, "Boy, I can't even imagine doing that with my own dad," because she felt like her own dad was so kind of
standoffish.
Yeah, standoffish, non-physical, not a hugger, not somebody that was. And my mother
I hugged the crap out of my kids.
Sounded like she wished she had that,
But looking at the clock, it looks like we're winding down with our time.
Well, we want to do a couple of plugs here.
Yes.
Let's see. I want to plug the radio show I do down in Brattleboro. It's called Hey Daddy-O. It's Wednesdays, 9 a.m. on WVEW 107.7. We also...
Coffee Connection.
We do Coffee Connection, 9 o'clock.
Mothers, fathers.
Do we do it at 9
o'clock?
It'll
be 9 o'clock till 10 on Thursdays for the summer. It's usually 8 to 9, but in the summer it's 9 to 10.
It's parents. We meet up together. We talk about our parenting issues, try to support each other in our journey.
Come up with community things to do.
Right.
like Parkapalooza, which is on the 28th of this month. It's coming up soon.
A week from Saturday, the
Outside
28th.
of the Central School, we're going to have,
What are the times?
I believe it starts at 12 and it goes till 5, if I remember correctly.
Noon to 5. 5 hours of fun. And it was. We were there last year.
Yep. And also, any emails, you can send them to wegotdaddyissues@yahoo.com with comments, questions, topics for us to discuss. We're more than willing to read them on the air and discuss anything you have to
Please
bring to the table.
give us your input. I want to plug one more thing, and that's doing a dad's group over at Parks Place the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month at 6 o'clock. Show up at Parks Place. We'll be there, same thing. We'll talk about some dad issues, talk about what we're going through on the dad journey. And one more plug. If you'd like, you could catch Craig naked on
Excuse me?
Men of Bellows Falls calendar, which is to the benefit the California Food Shop.
Trust me, I don't want to see that. My girlfriend don't want to see that. No one's going to buy that. Men of Bellows Falls. Thank you for that.
Right into daddy issues, and you can perhaps
He's just jealous because I got B-cups.
you can convince Craig to be on the calendar.
No, they couldn't. But until next week, this has been We Got Daddy Issues. I'm Craig Jakes,
I'm Don Tretler,
and we had a
and our guest.
guest.
Trayvon Dunbar.
And wait till
Wait till
your father gets home.